Okay, so Rockstar's bus driver for the Black Jacket Symphony,
Brandon Snyder,
has if I get this right, a stepbrother who is also his cousin.
So we were on the bus in Knoxville after we did a doubleheader, and for some reason we were on the bus. Before we left, we were talking about family tree or something like that, and Brandon said, well, you cousin brother Matt. And that got my attention. I said, what? And he kind of sort of explained it. Then he said, well, he's in all these conspiracy theories and everything. I'll call him right now. And I went, okay, we called him on speakerphone, and he just went off. And I was like, this is fantastic. So we can go over with cousin brother Matt exactly what we talked about on that bus.
All right, here is cousin brother Matt. He is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What is up, Matt? How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Doing wonderful, thanks a lot. So you have been described to us as someone who is an expert on every conceivable conspiracy theory. Would that be an overstatement?
Maybe a little. I mean, I'm going to try to support that, but, we'll see how it goes.
Well, can I ask you this? I know we're going to talk JFK today, but if you had to stake your life on one theory that you just know 1,000% is true, which one would it be?
I guess the fake moon landing, probably.
My dad, too.
Would y'all rather do that than JFK?
I'd rather do JFK.
Okay, we'll do JFK.
We're gonna do JFK.
Yeah, we got to come back to the
We'll
fake
bring
moon
you back
landing.
for a fake moon landing.
Because I'm a Stanley Kubrick fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll just go ahead and start because I'll do it with the way Brandon started with it. Hey, cousin brother Matt, who killed JFK?
Shocking ending. It was Jackie.
Wow.
His wife, his old lady off him?
We just read the final page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what?
Well, yeah. I should have said spoiler alert, but it's been 60 years, so I guess I can say that, right?
And why did she do this?
Well, it turns out she was you kind of think, you go into it thinking, well, look, she was just some lady. She was just his wife and, happened to be there. But when you delve into the background, that's not the whole story. There's a lot more to it. When I was researching this, the one fact that really cemented it for me, that when I came across this, I thought there's just no going back. It was this. Lee Harvey Oswald's best friend in Dallas was this guy named George de Mohrenschildt, who not that many people have heard of, but he was kind of a central character in the whole affair. He gave more testimony to the Warren Commission than any other witness. But his friendship with Oswald was sort of strange to begin with. He was much older than Oswald. He was this wealthy guy. He was a European immigrant. He was very well educated. He was a petroleum engineer. And Oswald supposedly, he wasn't. He was an intelligence agent. But Oswald supposedly was just a blue-collar guy. He literally worked in a warehouse and so on and so forth. So it was this odd friendship, which, you'd be willing to let go because you can be friends with anyone, right? But what it turns out is that, decades before, thousands of miles away in New York, when, young Jacqueline Bouvier was growing up, debutante in this wealthy family or whatever, there was a very close friend of the family. He almost married her aunt, which would have made him her uncle. But he was so close to the family that Jackie referred to him as Uncle George. It was George de Mohrenschildt.
Boom.
Wow.
What?
And I could not get past that as being mere coincidence.
So, they palm this on Lee Harvey Oswald. And I've never been to the depository. Brown here on set has been.
Zero chance.
I think Dunaway went. But, people that really study this, there is no chance this guy's able to get off 3 shots and have 2 direct hits like that. So I don't think anybody really believes it was Lee Harvey Oswald. But what was he doing in the depository?
Well, it turns out that he was, if you research his background, so on and so forth, it gets to be a very strange story that he was an intelligence agent himself, worked for the CIA, worked for the FBI. The story gets very weird in that there might have been 2 Lee Harvey Oswalds floating around.
What? 2?
We had 2 DeMar Hamlins. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like, so it shouldn't be strange. As we've seen this before. Somebody wrote a book. I think it was called Lee and Harvey that said there were actually 2 Lee Harvey Oswalds. I never researched it because I kind of figured out what I needed to know about it. But I remember coming across this one memo from J. Edgar Hoover that said, hey, someone needs to check out, this reports of whatever, because it looks like somebody else is passing themselves off as Lee Harvey Oswald. So he apparently didn't know about the other Lee Harvey Oswald. Like he knew about the one that worked for the FBI, but not for this other one. Very.
Go ahead, finish it.
I was going to say, this is a very, very strange story. It ends with, and it's probably too much to get into today, but the Lee Harvey Oswald assassination itself was faked, which you can tell just by looking at the pictures.
Of course.
So it's just a strange
Wait, so
story
he
going
wasn't
on.
shot?
Yeah, so Jack Ruby did not kill Lee Harvey Oswald?
That's correct. Yeah, it was staged. Yeah.
So where's Lee Harvey? What happened to him?
I never researched it in detail, but there are reports that he just lived out his life just with some other name, and like they know what name it was, and he just walked off into history.
Now,
I got to ask though, if Jackie did it, how did Jackie do it again?
now I asked you on the bus, talk about the Zapruder film. So he gave video evidence in the Zapruder film about how Jackie did it.
No, because she's in the car with him, right?
Yeah,
I
so
see
was
that.
she
That's
right
really,
next to him?
it's really
Yeah.
Jackie in
I
the
don't
car,
think she
right?
had a purse. I mean, where's she keeping the weapon?
The heater?
Looks like you can't see it. You can't see what she does directly in the Zapruder film, but just in the crucial second, it looks like that she had her purse in between the two of them, and that she had turned to her right toward him. You can't see what she's doing, but it looks like she's digging down in her purse, and she's reaching for the gun. Then she kind of pulls him into position. She gets the gun, the barrel, probably right behind his left ear, and then pow, shoots him through the head, so his head just like blows up. And for the evidence of that, kind of the indirect evidence of that, you got to go to the Zapruder film, frame 313, and you can't see it. You can't see in the video. It's not good enough resolution. You've got to find a site that has the stills from it blown up. But if you look at 313, you can see the ejecta, if you will, from JFK's head. It's heading almost straight up. It's probably 6 feet high above his head. It's kind of toward the front and kind of outboard from the car toward the right. And if you trace that back, you can kind of see the path from from behind his left ear to out the top front of his head, which in the film you see the front left of his head is the part that's blown out. So like I say, if you trace it back, you can kind of see where the gun was.
Well, you also said that the driver was in on it too, because in all cases you would speed up when you hear gunshots. He actually slowed down.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's the Zapruder film. Like kind of all the researchers agree that it's been modified, and it seems like the part of what's been modified is that they edited out where the cars or how much the cars slowed down. Apparently, it swerved to the left, and it almost stopped because the whole thing was. There was a big ritual that had to take place in this one, very specific spot on the street. So if you look in the Zapruder film, just to prove that, if you look in the Zapruder film, if you keep your eye on the curb, which is behind the car, you'll see that these yellow spots are painted on the curb, and it looks like the execution. It was a ritual public murder. Took place in between those spots. So Zapruder was positioned for that spot. The babushka lady with her camera was positioned for that spot. The driver knew he had to slow down and get to that spot. Jackie knew she had to execute him at that spot or whatever. But like I say, they edited out where the car almost stopped. And because one of the motorcycle riders testified that he was behind the car, that he almost ran into it, because the car slowed down so much. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, okay. Cousin Brother Matt is with us. So he's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.
If we are still broadcasting, we have not been shut
if
down.
YouTube has now shut us down here. So here's a question I've got. All right, so let's assume that Jackie Onassis was the killer of John F. Kennedy. And she was doing so because of this connection you talked about that was connected with Lee Harvey Oswald. My problem with understanding this is these two were married when he was only a United States representative. Like, they didn't know he was going to be president. So that's hard for me to piece together that this was all some sort of conspiracy to kill John F. Kennedy. They didn't even know he was going to be president when he and Jackie Onassis married.
Yeah, well, that's what I was mentioning before, is when you look into the whole background of this thing, it really starts to make a lot more sense. So everyone kind of just thinks that Kennedy was just like this, young, talented dude who's interested in politics, whatever. But when you look into his background, you can kind of liken him to George Bush Jr., in that he was the son of a corrupt family and, made to be president, and he was just supposed to be a placeholder. So, like the Kennedy family, Blackjack Kennedy, his father, made his money from bootlegging. He was an organized crime guy, worked with Bronfman, running liquor across the border from Canada into the U.S. So he was, and his election in '60 for president, it was rigged. That there was all these stories about the mob helped him out and all this and that. Like I say, he was just supposed to be a placeholder, though. He wasn't supposed to do anything. But somewhere along the line, he, grew a conscience or whatever it was, and he started to do all these things that were not on the agenda. And because he crossed, the proverbial them, he had to pay. And he had to pay in this very public way.
So there were so many reports of all these affairs JFK had, and a lot of the reports said that the affairs made Jackie suicidal.
Right.
Would that be one of the reasons she shot him as well?
No. Again, that's just like a bunch of stuff that they make up to distract you from what's really going on, to misdirect you, lead you off in the other direction. When I was growing up, they never talked about John Kennedy being a ladies' man and all the rest of this stuff. It's only the past maybe 25 years that they seem to talk about that. But when you go look into it, there's never any specific detail. Sometimes they mention Marilyn Monroe, whatever. But it's they kind of give you the impression that he's just hooking up with cocktail waitresses in the White House pool every weekend. But there's no actual evidence of that. But if you look into John Kennedy's background, it seems like he was gay, or at least bisexual. There's this guy named Lem. I know this is probably news too, breaking news. There's this guy named Lem Billings that seems like he was John Kennedy's lover. Like there's this the thing that convinced me. There's several things, but there's this picture of the Kennedys, like the young Kennedy boys hanging out they're at the beach or they're lakeside, they all got their swimsuits on, and it's him and his two brothers, and you see it's boy girl, boy girl, boy boy, and it's JFK and Lem Billings, and it's like, okay, it's just his buddy, right? But what sealed it for me is they've got matching print swimsuits on.
Oh, no. Wow. That is a red flag. I don't.
And this guy Lem Billings actually lived in the White House with them for a while. So, so it seems like I don't know if his children are his or what the deal really is, but it seems like he was gay, and then Jackie was this. She was this mind controlled person, from way back when, and there's four things they mind control people for, four kind of people that they make. Two I don't remember. One is a mind controlled assassin, and the other is a mind controlled sex slave. And it seems like that Jackie was both of those. The highest end sex slave being the presidential model. So it seems like Jackie was really she was assigned to him as, I don't know what you want to call it, but she was put into place in this kind of mostly fake marriage.
Okay.
Well, I would call her a concubine, but now after your last statement, I'm not sure it's the other way.
All right.
He could have done a lot worse.
What we got to do is we got to spin this off into an occasional podcast conversation with you. So I would love to. We're gonna contact you and talk to you in the future, cousin brother Matt, because I think everyone is screaming for more of this down the road.
Yeah, I vote next week
on a platform that we can get deeper into this and not tied up by the live streaming.
Okay, sure, sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you for the time. Have a great weekend.
Okay, thanks. You too.
All right, yeah, cousin brother Matt on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. I love our audience like nobody else. When he said John F. Kennedy was gay, so many people said, "I'm sorry, blind." It was